Hi, I'm Michael Newrock, and welcome to the Forex Market Analysis for October 24, 2017. Christmas just around the corner. Now, we're going to go over the charts today, take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. As you get more familiar with the trend Profiteer system, or you will be able to become more discerning with the trades that you take. The idea is not to take every trade setup that occurs, and if you have your charts or your system loaded on 10 or 15 pairs, then there'll be plenty of trade setups that occur even on the 4-hour time frame, which is my preferred time frame. I will take trades on shorter time frames, but I like to park it on the 4-hour. So let's have a look. To start off with, we're on gold. Just before I start, if you have downloaded the new software released on September 21, or you joined from September 21, then you've got the new version. If you haven't downloaded the new version, then make sure you do so. Log into the members area, click on the downloads button, and you'll be able to download the latest release from September 21. And it's really important that you do update, because if you have an older version, it will be disabled on November 1. So to avoid disruption of service, please download the latest version. It's got a couple of cool new updates, including manual commands that you can issue, and have the trade management system manage your trade automatically from that point on. And we've also incorporated pending trades. As well as that, we can now display the first 3 target levels, the profit locking level, so that's pretty cool too. So make sure that you do download as soon as you can. All right, so gold, we're looking at an upward market. We've got 4 out of the 6 high time frames pointing up, and it looks like we could have a new trend trade occurring. So in my mind, I'd be waiting at this stage. If we had a big move downward, then it would be a valid swing trade to the downside, particularly if this changed to at least a bidirectional trade or back to a sell. But for now, I'm waiting for this trade setup to occur. So on the 4-hour, we're looking at a potential trend trade setup occurring. On the daily, we're technically in an upward trend, but it really has already failed with that. But it's still showing on the last MACD here that it's an upward swing. And on the weekly, it's more clear of what we're looking at. We are looking at a upward trend trade, or an upward trend move. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 corrections since. Now, time will tell whether this is simply a correction or whether we will see gold fall. But at this stage, it is upward. So if we get a movement to the upside, then we will see a better looking daily as well, of course, and the 4-hour moving pretty strongly up. So if you wanted to get in on this early, you could drop down to, say, the 1-hour. Let's have a look at it. And it's already formed a trend trade here, a little bit of a consolidation. If we get a swing to the upside, then there's an opportunity to catch that on the 1-hour. And looking at the 15-minute, we'll see if there's any setup there. Well, it's already moved up. So on gold, I would be looking at either a swing trade to the upside, or waiting for the 4-hour to form a valid trend trade, and see how you go with that. It has been going pretty good, gold. So you can see here with these trend and swing trades, it's been paying well. So if this trend trade does occur, it could be a really good one. We do have reference points here and here on these highs right here and here. So, we're looking at a price move from currently 1,282 to around 3,000. Sorry, not 3,000. That's the amount of pips that we're looking at, to 1,313. So a movement of around $30 or 3,000 pips. So moving on to the euro. This is currently bidirectional. It's looking a little unsure, but if we go to the daily, we can get a clearer idea of what's happening. Overall, it's moving upward. We've had this consolidation here, so similar to gold, it's actually looking not as clear on the daily. But if you look at the weekly, now the true picture is coming out. Yes, we've had a bit of a correction and then consolidation over the last 3-4 weeks, but it's looking very strong to the upside. And in fact, if we get a swing upwards on this MACD, if it changes to a green, that would be a valid swing trade on the weekly chart, which is pretty significant because, again, we've got some good movement up to this high, and I think traders out there would be eyeing that high and seeing if the market can retest those highs. So at this stage, there's no trade on the 4-hour. If we look down on the 1-hour, okay, so a new trend trade has just occurred on the 1-hour. It's not looking the strongest of trades at this stage, and that's because we're still technically in a 4-hour downward move. So you can either wait for this 4-hour to occur if it does occur, or you can go for this 1-hour trend trade. It's a little late at this stage, but only by a few pips. Say it came in here, so we're only looking at about 8 pips of where the entry was, and it has cleared this previous resistance. If it clears this top here, and actually interestingly enough, take a look at where it's sitting right now, right on where this bar reached a low and then bounced straight back up, retraced on itself, and continued its merry way upwards. So if you wanted to trade this on a pending trade, you could set a pending trade here. So that might be worthwhile. So just to show you how it is, you click on insert, then text, and just plonk it anywhere on the chart. And now we put in the pending trade for a long trade, which is go long at. And in the text box, we'll place the price. So say 1.1775. Let's see how that looks. We can always change it. Okay, and there you go. We've got a pending trade here. We've got the stop placed on the slow moving average. We can actually adjust that. It's all based on the settings, but it uses the settings that are currently in your expert advisor here. Okay, so this could be a good trade because we've got a nice top. If we came in at around this point, probably want to move that a little bit further up to clear this resistance point. But just for the point of the exercise, that's how you place a pending trade. There's about 80 pips to the high, and it could be a good one to see the market. By then, it would probably change to a buy-only trade. So good luck with that if you are taking that trade. Pound has been a little bit stronger already, not by much, but it already has changed to a trend trade, and it's given a swing trade at the same time. Very, very small, very, very gradual. But let's have a look at the daily and see how that looks. Okay, so we've had a bit of a correction on this downward move. So there's still a threat of it moving further down. If we look at the weekly, not as strong as the euro. For sure, but definitely in the possibility of forming a new weekly swing trade to the upside, and there's plenty of movement to go. So if we get some nice movement here, again, you could place a pending trade around here, and if it breaks, say around this level, around here, then let's say 132.50 thereabouts, we could have a nice movement. Place your first profit lock prior to this high. That would be a good point. And then around this consolidation level. All right, so Euro Pound has been going down. I would have liked it to have gone down further, but it's still looking like a possibility of moving down. Now, this is the profit locking display levels that are showing. So when you take a trade, this is what's going to be displayed on your chart. It gives you a really good idea of being able to see where those profit locking targets are, and you can change them just by going into the settings. You can adjust where the targets should be placed, and then when you close it, the target levels will be displayed differently. Okay, so 4 out of the 6 high time frames are pointing down. If we look at the daily, Okay, it's looking pretty flat, and if we look at the weekly, that's a little bit more interesting to look at because you can see a trend trade to the a weekly trend trade is just about to occur, possibly. So this isn't the highest probability. Every trade is a risk, but if we get a swing to the downside, I think we could see some movement at least to this level here, just prior to this low. Okay, and pound Swiss has been moving to the upside. Now, the euro pound and the pound Swiss are often a reverse correlation to each other. So pound Swiss is looking quite strong to the upside. Therefore, it gives more confidence for the euro pound going down. This is well, we've had a trend trade occur just over here. It's just a few pips in profit. So if it does correct further down, then it could be a nice swing to take. It's already surpassed this high here, so there could be some good movement. Say if it dropped down and then it swung back up, there's about 170 pips to the upside to these previous highs. So it's been behaving pretty well as well, as far as its moves to the upside or to the downside. Now strongly to the upside. If we change to the daily, we can take a look there. New trend trade is starting to form. Of course, we've got the crossover, but the trend follower is still down. Other indicators, though, are pointing to the possibility of a new movement to the upside. And we've got the weekly price here that has surpassed these previous highs, currently corrected. So a move to the upside could see this pair move quite a bit upward. We'll just have to wait to see what happens. But the 4-hour now is looking pretty strong. Now, Aussie is bidirectional in nature. 3 higher time frames are pointing down, 3 are pointing up. It's always a little tricky to tell with the Aussie, and the reason why it's moving up at the moment is particularly because the Kiwi's been getting a hammering. It's just been going, down, down, down. And one of the reasons that has helped the Aussie, at least keep some buoyancy is because the Kiwi's been going down. It's been moving the Aussie Kiwi pair strongly to the upside, and this is got to be one of the trades of the last week right here. And of course, it moved strongly when it did move. Currently about 280 pips. If you took that trade, then congratulations. And the Aussie Kiwi has been going strongly to the upside for quite some time. This is the daily chart, and if we look at the weekly chart, you can see very strongly to the upside, and it looks like it has more to go. So back to the Aussie. I have been more of a bear of the Aussie, believing that the price is going to fall further. But it's really been keeping its buoyancy. I don't know how high it will go, and so I'm on the sidelines on the Aussie. It would be better to sell the Kiwi. And if you've been doing that, then congratulations, you've done, I'm sure, really well. On the weekly, it's still to the upside, but all in all, I'm on the sidelines for the Aussie. So down on the Kiwi and up on Aussie Kiwi has been very, very strong. Dollar CAD's been moving upwards. It had a bit of a roller coaster ride here, and this last trend trade has moved pretty decently to the upside, a total of about 90 pips maximum. Now, if you want to get in on this, then I would suggest wait for a correction. Wait for the MACD to come down closer towards the 0 line. Wait for a decent swing upwards, and then you might be able to, let's say if the price moved down to around here and then swung back up, sometime over the next day or so, could present a decent opportunity to the upside. If you are in this trade, however, lock in your profits and see how high it can go, because it may go up before it goes down. Of course, at the moment, not the best of times to actually get into the market, but if you're already into the market, then good for you. So there's this high, which is the obvious high, and we're looking at about 150 pips, just under 150 pips. to that upside. So this still may have some room to move to the upside on the daily. And on the weekly, you can see it's still really been moving downward. The last few weeks, though, we've had a correction to the upside. So we'll see how we go. But in my thinking, I've been a bull of the US dollar for quite some time, and right now it's been going quite well if you've been taking any of these trades to the upside in particular. K dollar Swiss, similar story. There could be a further correction and a possibility for a swing upward. So 4 hours strong to the upside. Not a good time to get in it right now. Wait for a valid signal. Daily is looking strong. The trend trade and the swings have been doing well. And the weekly, this is really interesting because we've had a recent crossover, moving average crossover in the last 2 weeks, and it is looking really, really bullish. So dollar Swiss, in my mind, look for an opportunity and see if you can get in on a trade to the upside. Dollar Yen. Okay, so this pair is looking really interesting. Strong to the upside. 5 out of 6 higher time frames are pointing up. We've had a bit of a retracement here. You can see that reflected by the MACD. It's getting close to the zero line, which I like. And if we get a swing to the upside, then we could have a nice opportunity. Let's say it continued to sort of drift along here and then swung up around here. As long as it's a valid trade to the upside there, you've got about 60 pips. So, good opportunity there. Just make sure that you're always watching your risk reward ratio as well. There's no point to getting on a trade that could bring in 60 pips if you have to risk 200, So you always want to see your stop, preferably half of what your expected target, whether it's a hard target or even your profit locking target one, at the very least a 1-to-1 ratio, but nevertheless, if you can at all afford it, or if you really are compelled to do so. So daily is looking strong to the upside, and weekly, let's have a look. A recent trend trade to the upside. So we're looking like a good possibility of further move upward. From here to this high there, we've got about 550 pips. So you can see that traders would be eyeing this pair off, and a fairly decent time to actually get in on a trade, on a valid swing trade, or on a shorter term trend trade, say a 15-minute may be interesting. Let's have a look at the 15-minute while we're talking about that. So this is interesting. If we get a move to the upside, we get a valid crossover, we get the trend follower turning green, RSI above the 50, MACD above the zero line, and the stochastic white over the blue. This could be a decent trade. It'd be nice to knock out this parabolic size. So let's say hypothetically it came in at around here. There's 50 pips, 60, 65 pips to the upside from a trade taken around here. So, could be a really nice opportunity. And on the 15-minute trade, the stop, let's say roughly around here, is only going to be around, 10, 12, 15 pips. Not a big deal for the amount of reward that you can potentially make. I'm going to leave it there on that 15-minute, and that's a great way to get in on a trade earlier. So rather than waiting on the 4 hour, because sometimes if you get a big move, sometimes it works great and you get a valid swing trade. Other times the moves are so big, and in this case you can see, it has been moving strongly to the upside. So what I'll do often is or regularly is drop down to the 1 hour, or in this case, right down to the 15-minute. I typically don't trade the lower time frames than that. I find they're just too unstable, but you can do it. But 15-minute is my preferred. Seems to work well with the 4 hour as well. So Euro Yen not as strong. It's already gone. Price is already busted through this slow moving average. So we're going to have to see a big move upward. It might go well if we get a surge in the euro. Then we may be able to This is on the 15-minute. We may be able to get in. But I would say the dollar yen would be a stronger one to take. This is the 1 hour. So let's just pop it back on the 4 hour. So moving on to the pound yen. This one seems like a better opportunity than the euro yen. The price has not broken through the slow moving average. It's been drifting down. This was market opening this week, and so there could be some good potential here. Of course, when this MACD changes to green, or if it changes to green on the 4 hour, we'll get this changing to green, which will be 4 out of 6 of the high time frames pointing upward. So if we go to the 15-minute, it's already occurred. It's been drifting, not real strong. If we look at the 1 hour, we might see an opportunity there. Nope. So I would leave it on this one. Yeah, I mean, you could look at a swing trade on the 15-minute, just going back there. It's occurred already. Hasn't been too strong. This next bar actually could see a swing trade. It's already green, so let's change to red. So it just needs to close, strongly above. But 4 hour might be a safer trade to take on the bar close. If it is a valid swing trade, I mean, take a look at it. If you, let's say hypothetically, closed above here, above the fast moving average. So, we've got about 150 pips easily higher than that to the recent high. We've got a reference point here. Maybe, move your stops to break even at maybe your stops to break even possibly when the price reaches this point. If it busts through that, then you can strive towards target 2, profit locking target 2. Aussie price is already closed below the slow moving average, so not too crazy about that. And it's actually looking at more of a possibility to the downside. 4 out of 6 are currently upward, but if it does form a crossover, then that'll quickly change to 3 higher time frames to the upside and make it therefore a bidirectional trade. Kiwi Yen, just like the Kiwis, been getting a hammering. So again, if you've been taking that trade, this one didn't occur because it's out of my filter range. It's just too big. And this is why you don't take trades where there's a huge move to the upside or to the downside. In this case, you saw a lot of consolidation and a lot of worry and stress, and also a huge stop. Plus, it's really low on the chart too, so not a good idea. This swing has turned out good, so we'll see how that pans out. CAD Yen, not as strong to the downside, and I'm not really in this trade. It might move down. If we see a move to the upside on the dollar CAD, for example, that will put pressure on the CAD, including the CAD Yen. Swiss Yen, this one looks interesting. This bidirectional 4 hour trend is going to change to a red after this bar is closed, and what we have just a change just then, so it's dynamic in nature. We could have on a move to the downside a fairly decent trend trade. It's been moving down. There's a lot of pressure on it. Let's say it closed around here. We'll have the stop of about 30 pips and the first profit of say 50 to 60 pips thereabouts. Always good to lock it in before it gets to those lows, because price could be supported at that stage. So you want to lock in your profits, lock in your pips before it gets to that low, just in case it does support and then go the other way. If it does continue to go down, let's have a look at the daily, then it could be a good trade to take. That's the Swiss yen. So daily is there's a possibility. If we get a move to the downside today, then the bar will close for the daily to the downside and be a lot more stronger looking. So this 4 hour is probably one of the best trade setups that we've seen so far today. We've seen a couple, but that's a pretty good one. Euro Aussie, no real trade there. It's been going sideways. Pound Aussie, posted this in the chat room yesterday, pretty early in the week. So I usually like to see the first 9 or 10 hours occur. But I took this trade a little early. It was looking strong at the time, went to the downside, and then moved upward. Just missed out on my target, which is one of those things. But we'll see how we can go. Again, I can move those targets to how wherever I want to place them. So a swing now, another swing to the upside should easily be able to hit this target and move on to target 2, which I've placed just below these highs, and then onto target 3. At that time, if it does hit target 3, then it will then trail by whichever trailing methodology that I've set in my settings. Euro Kiwi. Now, Euro Kiwi's been really strong because, of course, the Kiwi's been getting a hammering. So, all across the board, it's if you can match a currency with the Kiwi, then typically it's been going upward, that particular pair. And so pound yen, same thing, moving strongly to the upside. So, if we get a bit of consolidation in the Kiwi, that will take the pressure off the Aussie Kiwi, and then make the pound Aussie an even better trade. So that's pretty much it for today. I'll wrap up right now and park it there on the Aussie. Now let's just have a look. We had a couple. Gold looking like a possibility later on today. The pending trade that we placed earlier hasn't been reached yet, so the trade is not active. When it does, you'll see the profit locking targets occur. Nothing happening really there. Euro pound going downwards, so we could see some movement on that one. Pound. Okay, pound Swiss. Again, this bar closes, we're going to get a new swing trade, and that's going to drive that this pair up, going to help drive the euro pound down, and also more than likely help drive the pound upward as well. So just to summarize, dollar CAD, wait for a correction, possible correction, and a swing to the upside. Same with the dollar Swiss. Dollar yen, okay, if we get some movement, and it's not happening yet, but the crossover hasn't occurred either. So in the next 2 bars, we may be able to see a decent trade. And on a 15-minute, great risk reward of only about, what was it? If we hypothetically get it up to here, we've got less than 15 pips to the downside, and 65 pips for the recent high, 50 pips for this one. So with that, I will leave you. Remember to download the latest version of the software. It's really cool. And look forward to seeing you in the chat room. I'm regularly in there on a daily basis. So look forward to helping you in your journey as being a trader. Till next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.